It's that time again. Clown World News! Or just reading news. Okay, so, starting us off, Sweet Baby Incorporated employee Chris Kindred doubles down on call to cancel stream curator lists and labels members as Nazis. I love Park Place, but this is a love-hate relationship I have with that Park Place. That every article you can read it on its own because it will give you context for a story. But as this is an ongoing story, we've been covering a lot of these articles. I just rinsing, repeating. I have to hash out the actual new portion of the news. So we're not bored to death, considering we've been covering this for a few weeks now. Okay, so let's see. Cancel campaign against the Brazilian stream curator list. Yada yada. Yada 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 yada. Okay, I like this here portion. Kind of sums it up. Kindred posted on Blue Sky, "They got my ass." I'm guessing a few hundred gamers reported me. So this was like the first time this asshole got banned and stuff, but it kind of sums up where we're going. Okay, yeah, so here's some of the new stuff Kindred's talking about. It's like, I really wish I had on hand that old meme picture from Gamergate of like the feminists, Anita Sarkeesian, and the cartoon of Anita Sarkeesian shoveling shit over a wall, and then everyone else shoveling shit right back at her in just more force. This is kind of like the feeling I'm getting right now, because Chris Kendra says they're just writing fan fiction at this point. No, that's your job. The group still should be taken down, by the way, not for the conspiracies, then definitely the Nazis. It's like, oh yes, everyone I don't like is literally Hitler. Which is not really saying much, considering everyone I don't like I consider Joseph Stalin. So, 6 of one, half a dozen the other. They're doing phrenology in there. No, the whole racist crap, that's kind of your shtick. You know, you're a casual racist. We're professional racist, okay? We hate each other and we'll kick each other's asses and we'll go for a drink afterwards because we're professionals. You're filthy fucking casual racist. Get in our level, scrub. Doubling down, yada yada. Yep. So pretty much those tweets were just a new part, but it's kind of funny. But it's really funny to point out of like all I have to do, me personally, is drag out all the jokes I made back in Gamergate 1, because none of this shit fucking changed. Okay? None of this fucking changed. And we're gonna get into this let's see. Do I have it lined up here? Yep. Yeah. Okay, the last one I've lined up for that Park Place today. We're gonna come back to. Actually, no, I'm gonna railroad it up. Whoop. Due to the magic of tabs, I can move a tab over. Okay, so that's that. So, as I said, like, I don't even have to make any new jokes because I can just make all the old jokes. So, and this article here really spells it out. Amid Sweet Baby Incorporated canceled campaign, Anti-Defamation League, otherwise known as ADL, otherwise known as a bunch of fucking kikes, call on online games to be regulated. In the middle of Sweet Baby Incorporated and its employees attempting to cancel Brazilian gamer Cabritas Rambo, and the Anti-Defamation League called on online games to be regulated. Okay? These authoritarian, totalitarian, whatever you want to call them, these guys who don't know how to have fun and want to tell you how to think, comes back to the age-old thing of, we need to shut down them video games. Because back when I was growing up, it was all about the violence and the Satanism. But now it's because it's the misogyny and the transphobia and all that other nonsense. You know, left and right are just different coats of paint. Okay? Take out the coat of paint, it's the same people behind everything, and they just want to tell you how you think, how you need to think, and what to do. You know, they want you to roll over and die. Which is really hyperbolic considering we're talking about video games and stuff. But at the end of the day, that's the end goal. Let's not kid ourselves. And they have to start somewhere with this shit and stuff, and it just never fucking ends. 2 weeks after Sweet Baby Incorporated employees call for canceling a Brazilian gamer Caboose Rambo in his stream creator list that lists all the games of Sweet Baby Incorporated has worked out. They are currently available to purchase on Steam. The ADL posts on X as digital social spaces. Online games should be regulated to address the hate and extremism. The organization added, it is vital for Congress to examine extremist radicalization in these spaces, and we are grateful to Representative Lori Tarn for leading the effort. Otherwise known as Hillary Clinton 2.0, because for those of you who aren't old enough to remember, back in the day it was Hillary Clinton's purview, and before that it was Joe Lieberman. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Fuck these people. The Atlas also links to an article published in The Hill by Marina. I don't care about these fucking names. Was awarded a fellowship from. I don't care about her made up accolades at this point. In the article, Kant writes, discussions of the harms in the video game in gaming historically have focused on the fears about the content of the game themselves. However, the social environment of the games is what actually poses significant threats to the players' safety and well-being. I'm going to repeat that sentence because that sentence is monumentally retarded. However, the social environment of games is what actually poses a significant threat to players' safety and well-being. Yes, me calling you a nigger on Xbox Live is totally going to just magically make the noose and lynch you on a tree. Yes, that's exactly how reality works. She asserts exposure to hateful speech is routine while doxing, exposing someone's private identifying information, which is usually publicly available and just collated into one spot. But I digress. And physical threats are also common. Of acute concern is the mounting evidence that extremists and other bad actors take advantage of the pre-existing toxic gamer culture to disseminate their hateful ideologies and unleash hate-based harassment, like what you're doing against white straight men. Huh? I learned it from watching you, cunt. Actually, no. I learned this shit probably since before she was born. Okay, later in the article, Kant shares her aims. Regulators should consider online games fair game for regulation. No, they should not. Indeed, it is unclear why games are typically excluded from the same regulatory approaches that apply to social media, since online multiplayer games are social platforms. Fuck off! Leave us the fuck alone. Do you want to? Okay, at the end of the day, fuck Tim Pool. You want Civil War 2? This is how you start Civil War 2. Leave our fucking video games alone. Because before Civil War 2 is going to be Gamergate 2. Oh, fuck. Online games normally fall within the scope of the Digital Services Act, and regulations enforcers should ensure that game companies comply with its extensive requirements, including publishing human rights risk assessments. Oh, fuck off. Removing illegal content, countering disinformation and extremism. Fuck off on that too. Issuing transparency reports. And providing data to vetted independent researchers. No. You're selling data. You're selling data, not providing. You're selling. There's a difference. This law provides significant regulatory push for the game companies to put in place responsible business policies and practices. Fuck off, cunt. This push comes in the wake of the ADL publishing a so-called report titled Hate is No Game, Hate and Harassment in Online Games in 2023 on February 6, 2024. The report's executive summary declares hate and harassment in gaming is now so pervasive that Hitler is rising from the grave. I mean, that has become the norm for many players. It is estimated that 83 million of the 110 million online multiplayer gamers in the United States were exposed to hate and harassment over the last 6 months. Yes, that's me calling them niggers, cunts, and faggots and retards. 3 out of 4 young people ages 10 and 17 experience harassment when playing video games. Yeah, it's called Get Good. Interestingly, a similar report from the ADL made similar claims of the so-called inspiration or take this founder, Dr. Rachel LaCourte, found in our organization. We talked about this before, but there's more things coming to light, which we're going to get into very shortly, and I'm going to be very amused. During a game UX 22 presentation, Court shared in 2019 the Anti-Defamation League report that nearly 1 in 4 was 23% of game players are exposed to white supremacist ideology in game. Okay? This is a number they pulled out of their ass. Okay. Okay, we're gonna get that. She continued, and honestly, someone asked me earlier how I got into this work because it seems like a very niche area, but it was this report. Yeah, we covered this before. And when I saw that, I thought the number was so high, it can't be that high, it can't possibly be that high. And I called Daniel Kelly, who led the research, and he was like, "No, that's the number." And I was like, "Okay, we have to do something about that. That's terrifying." Ironically, this is the fun part. She admitted that reporting and research of the ADL was suspect. In 2021, they did another report looking at the same thing and found the number was closer to 1 in 10, okay? All right. Before it was like a quarter. Now it's like 10%. It's just like it's like they pull this number out of their ass. But it's unclear whether it was actually a change in the landscape or just differences in sampling, as it is with research sometimes. No, they pull out the number out of their ass. That's what they did. It is no surprise that one might find these assertions suspect, given the ADL admits in their most recent report that it's all based off a survey conducted by Newzoo of 1,971 respondents between the age of 10 through 45. It also admits oversampling. All right, this is why I don't trust any surveys, sampling, polls, none of this crap. Okay, this is shit like this is why. It also admits oversampling on key interest groups, including Jewish, Muslim, LGBTQ, alphabet soup, black and nigger, Hispanic, beaners, to ensure that we have enough respondents belonging to these minority groups able to examine responses within these groups during analysis, which means they fucking cherry pick their samples. Okay, that's why it's skewed. These numbers are bullshit. From there, the ADL admits to manipulating data, like on top of everything else. The final data set, including the oversample population of N 2006, was then weighted so that the demographic distribution of our final data set matched the demographic distribution of our initial gamer sample. This involved reapplying weights based on 5 variables: age, gender, ethnicity, religion, and sexual orientation to rake a algorithm to give each respondent a weight. Okay? All right? They pull the shit out of their ass. That's why you never trust any of this shit. And this is the shit that laws are made out of, okay? This is why this is all bullshit and why it gets my goat. Okay, this one's a little funnier to bring down my blood pressure. I'm going to read this one verbatim too because it's too fucking funny. Dead by Daylight voice actor demands reparations and accuses developer Behavior Interactive of tricking him into voicing a stereotype. Dead by Daylight voice actor, who's a man pretending to be a woman and goes by the name of Zoe Alexandria, accused developer Behavior Interactive of tricking him into voicing a stereotype and is now demanding reparations because that's all these people know. As pointed out by YouTuber Melanie Mack, in a post to social media, the voice actor wrote, "I voiced the character, The Unknown. In Dead by Daylight, at the time of the voicing, it was a great experience. I was told at the time I was voicing a character there was no model and that the creature was supposed to be amorphous. They had no model design before I recorded my lines." He continued, "So it's my assumption the design team took my medical history and my ability to use multiple voices as an opportunity to create a character model that encapsulates my medical history as a trans and capitalizes on catering to the transphobic community." Oh, goodness. Did they ever. Next, you heard I was tricked into voicing stereotypes since yesterday. I've been virtually harassed for being trans by thousands of people since yesterday. Many folks in the trans community are up in arms over this, and rightfully so, he continued. I feel that reparations for a team that deliberately tricked me is the only logical next choice of action. I am so upset and so infuriated that people are comparing trans people to these clearly transphobic character skins. If I had any idea to follow that would happen after simply voicing character, I would never have in the first place. He then apologized. Let me personally apologize to anyone who has been a victim of transphobia due to the release. Please know that you are loved, know that you are valid. As for me, I am not okay. This ruined my reputation. It put me physically at risk for being attacked in public. Oh, fuck off. If anyone recognizes my face or voice, yeah, you're a fucking ugly troon, of course. There were no diversity consultants on this project. What a shock. The company knew that making a stereotypical man in a dress as a character and having a trans voice actors voice it would bring lots of money and people back to the game. I'm not dumb. I know how marketing works. He asserted this seems to be a huge ploy in the trans community, along with myself, were the victims. Blah, blah, blah. Big screed. The character in question is the Unknown, one of the playable killers in the game. If you aren't familiar, Dead by Daylight allows players to take role of the killer or one of 4 survivors. As the survivors, your goal is out and outlast the killer during each session. Various maps, the killer's goal is to kill all survivors before they are able to escape. The game features a plethora of different killers and survivors, including Chucky, Xenomorphs, Demogorgon, Ghostface, Freddy Krueger, blah blah blah. We've seen everyone, including Gura, play Dead by Daylight until Heat Death of the Universe at this point. As for the Unknown, it's an original character, and this is where it gets really funny. The game's official site describes the character. There are many theories as to its origins. Some speculate it's a malevolent entity conjured long ago by an ancient cult. Others believe it to be an alien escaped from Area 51. There are those who say it thrives in darkness, stealing the voice of its prey, luring people to their doom, is an evil entity, an extraterrestrial, a failed government experiment, a serial killer, allergic to publicity. The true answer is unknown. Spoiler alert, the character is a warped fucker. It looks really ugly, and if I'm being completely honest, given how the VA who's throwing the shit right now did female and voice lines for this character, means this here is actually a troon. The Unknown's actually a troon, and this amuses me so much. As showcased by series, the character has a number of different cosmetic options to allow player to customize character. After claiming his been tricked by demanding reparations, the voice actor deleted the account, but has since launched a new X account and has a very different narrative. He posted there has been recent misunderstanding. So okay, so so the first part there, the troon through shit fit got pushed, got pushed back, and apparently deleted fucking everything. Is now coming back with a different tune, and now this is where it gets really kind of interesting. He posted, there's been a recent misunderstanding. Anyone who thinks the skins are going away is not in the loop. Behavior is allegedly aware of mass transphobic remarks and memes being made, and the gaming community is not a reflection of the game developers. I wasn't kept in the loop with what the character final look would be, and I was given an ambiguous description for the part, and even though I tried my best to find out more, continually asking for more information, that was possible. This is why I was upset. The characters themselves were never the issue. Lack of communication was bullshit. And I'll get to why I was bullshit in a minute. He then called on his followers to stop boycotting Behavior Interactive. Please stop boycotting Behavior. They're not transphobic. It's wrong to take bits of info and jump to your own conclusions. Behavior is a good company. Has been nothing but kind and supporting through its tough process. Received mass harassment for my involvement in this character. So here's where my idle speculation is. My idle speculation is Behavior's lawyers called this guy and said, like, look, this is how voice acting works. You know what you're getting yourself into. You're interfering with our bottom line. You shut the fuck up, or else you're going to be getting another letter from our lawyer. And this is why this tranny is singing in a different tune now. Mark my words. This is exactly what it is. It's fucking hilarious. It's so patently obvious. It's just like it's fucking hilarious. Let's see. Next. Forspoken consultant black girl gamers appear to discriminate in their hiring practices while claiming they are being harassed. I feel like I talked about this a little while ago, so I think this might be a bit of a follow-up. A video game consultant organization, I did. Black Girl Gamers consultant on Square Enix's disastrous Forspoken game appears to be discriminating in their hiring practices while simultaneously claiming they are being harassed. So, long story short, is that this company effectively said, straight white men need not apply, and of course that's that's literally violation of every single human rights thing on the face of the planet, and of course they're getting called out on it. It's like, well, you're having hiring discriminatory practices, and you go and then you turn around saying, wah, 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 the white patriarchs are oppressing us, wah, the same song and dance we've seen a million times. Ironically, a little less than a month later, the organization claims being harassed while not providing any evidence. Opposing on next, the amount of harassment we've recently due to Gamergate 2, Electric Boogaloo, now in stores. It is not surprising. Gamers thought the industry revolved around them. Spoiler alert, it does. And their comforts now realizing it doesn't. Oh, honey, Go broke. Wait until you're on the breadline. Oh, wait a minute. Or at least until AI does your job too. There, cupcake. We've had emails, comments, and threats, but we're not going anywhere. Only to the unemployment line. Interestingly, a post shortly after that, when the organization implied was that telling it you're not being harassed is harassment. Interesting strategy, Colton. Let's see how it plays out. You're not being harassed while simultaneously partaking in harassment is insane. Yes. But this is not the moment of clarity you think it is. As noted above, the organization consulted with Square Enix and Forspoken. The website was covering stuff we've covered before, what they've done, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so at the end of the day, Black Girl Gamers is just another one of these liberal arts majors trying to justify their degrees by making problems and then offering here's the solution to these problems. Give me money. The typical con game we've seen for like the last couple of decades. At this point, because let's be honest, it's been going for a long time now. Talking about how they get rid of white people and black power, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. So I don't know. Again, these people are just like, they make up shit. They offer you the solution, and the product goes to shit because of it and stuff. And then it's like a self fulfilling prophecy, because and once the game is shit, and then it's like, oh, it didn't do good because of the white patriarchy and shit like that, and then watch, rinse, repeat. It's also tiring. Okay, this one actually gave me a good laugh. Excuse me. IGN turns off comments after accusing Resident Evil 5 of racism and demanding a black protagonist for a possible remake. For those of you who don't know, Resident Evil 5 took place in Africa. Of course, you're shooting up black zombies. You're in Africa. What? You want to take the whole thing to take place in like the last white enclave in South Africa, and then you can shoot up Whitey, and then be like, oh, but there's no black representation because it's Africa. Okay, well then we put in black zombies. Oh, this is racism because you're shooting black zombies. I'm like, motherfucker, you're never gonna be happy, are you? Because you're a miserable cunt. You're all miserable cunts. That's all it comes down to. Fuck. At the Inside Down comments after publication published in the article accusing Resident Evil 5 of racism, demanding black protagonists be added to the game with possible remake. The article written by Matt Purslow, I recognize that name, accuses Resident Evil 5 racism halfway through the article after arguing why Resident Evil 5 needs to be remade and rewritten due to its lack of horror elements. Well, yeah, because it's a modern Resident Evil game, and they're not horror games at this point, and thus they suck. Fight me. And his gameplay designed favors mowing down enemies rather than surviving them, Purslow accused game of racism. He wrote the whole new environment structure and scenario design that reins in the action and dials up the horror will bring it in line with Capcom's other remakes, but all this doesn't count Resident Evil 5's most notorious problem. Racism. Damn, racist whiteys. Keep him down the black zombie. That's racist. Berlin stated set in the fictional West African country, Resident Evil 5's primary antagonists are black people. Yes, technically it's a robust virus that protagonist Chris Redfield is fighting. But the parasite hosts is infected nation of mobs and primitives who are violent even before their infection, intentionally or not. Resident Evil 5's position Africa as a dark continent, an uncivilized world harboring disease population that needs gunning down via Western intervention in the name of global security. America. Fuck yeah. Later in his article, he calls for a black protagonist to be added to the proposed remake, even with vastly improved, more sensitive take on content. Perhaps one with a black protagonist and more empathetic look in the Outbreak experience would simply be too divorced from the original to hold the name Resident Evil 5. I'm going to be blunt. I hated Shiva Alamar. Fuck, me and my bud played this game co-op. Oh man, it was such garbage. Oh my god. When I'm knifing liquors left, right, and center, you know you fucked up. The article was subsequently shared next where IGN quickly turned off comments. Not only did IGN turn off comments, but the post was quickly community noted. The community note reads, no racist or discriminatory remarks towards people of color are presented in the game, and the enemies are treated no differently in any other series. The article also mentioned the games would benefit from Black lead in the remake, ignoring the character Shiva Elmer, aka Player 2 in the co-op campaign, aka the secondary main character. The community note also cites an interview with Resident Evil 5 producer Jun Takeuchi and Masachiki Kawata, conducted by the Video Games Daily back in 2008. The interview, Takeuchi asked, humans you fight don't all look African anymore. There seems to be multiple ethnicities. Is there a storyline reason for this, or were things changed in response to some controversy regarding race in the game? He responded, when we went to Africa to do research of the game, we took a lot of photographs and try to recreate the scenery and atmosphere. When we got there, we found that contrary to our expectations, people there were not all African ethnicity. There were Arab people, a few Caucasian people as well. So what we're trying to do in game is recreate as accurately as we can what we saw with our own eyes. This is true. As made clear, the game drew inspiration from Africa. The in-game location is fictional. He said the place the game takes place in isn't real and something we made up for use in the game. However, language they're speaking is Swahili. As for Shiva Alamar, as anyone who played the game knows, I should know I was the one in charge of her because I'm perpetually player 2. She is from the fictional nation of Kututu and partners with Chris Redfield. In fact, she introduced herself to Redfield at the beginning of the game and makes it abundantly clear she is his partner. Yes, it's called cherry picking. You remove the details that does not fit into your narrative. That's what this asshole did in this article. Oh god. Okay, so Donald Trump hasn't tweeted about Gamergate 2 yet, but Elon Musk describes Sweet Baby Incorporated as an evil blight on the gaming industry after employees attempt to cancel Asmongold. Gonna move the Asmon one to next because that's related, actually. Yeah, well, this one here took place first, so we'll get to Asmongold in a minute. Elon Musk declares Sweet Babe Incorporated as an evil blight in the gaming industry after one of the company's employees, Kiss Conrad, attempted to cancel Asmongold after it was announced that he was turned into an official pawn by Capcom for Dragon's Dogma 2. No one cares. Official Dragon's Dogma account announced Asmongold, along with a number of other YouTubers and streamers, will be available as official pawns in the game. In a post to X on March 15th, the account posted introducing second round of Dragon's Dogma 2 official pawns, now joining the phrase Seer Hunter, Asmongold, Wildy Woots, Super Red Lemon, Annie Fuchsia, Arcas Gaming, Kaylilis, Shield Garnier, and more. Asmongold's the only one I recognize out of the entire lot. Oh god. Show you how much I watch streamers. And Dragon's Dogma 2, blah, 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 talks about it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's the fun part. As reported by ex-user Panda's NVIDIA, Sweet Baby Incorporated employee Chris Kindred reacted to his announcement that Asmongold was one of the official pawns, accusing him of engaging in a harassment campaign. Okay. Kindred wrote, that's crazy. Isn't one of these people an active participant in a harassment campaign? Ex-user It is Gamergate 2. Oh my god. Ian, fuck off. Go away. The left didn't want you and the right doesn't want you either. Fuck off. Ian Miles Chung reacted to Panda's and NVIDIA's post, writing, this is going to be completely backfire on Sweet Baby Incorporated, which is trying to get a popular gaming streamer canceled for not siding with them. This is where Musk made his comment and where the fun begins, really. He reacted to Chung's post, writing, Sweet Baby Incorporated is an evil blight in the gaming industry. All they do is make games terrible and try to cancel people. He added, they cannot go broke soon enough. I agree. As noted by both Chung and Panda's NVIDIA, Kindred is one of the Sweet Baby Incorporated employees who led the cancel campaign against blah, blah, blah. We've been here a million times at this point. Review. Stuff we already just covered in the last article. So, yeah. So the main pull away from this here is that Asmongold being Asmongold and a big target to pick on, these chuckle fucks went after Asmongold, and by doing that got Elon's attention. So where this goes from here, I don't know, but it's going to be retarded and I'm going to laugh. Now, speaking of Asmonbald responds to Sweet Baby Incorporated attempts to cancel him after he's featured in Dragon's Dogma 2. Blah, 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 blah. Actually, here's a good comment from Grums. Cancel pigs are going after Asmonbald and trying to get people to unsponsor him, including Capcom USA. These people are the actual disgusting harassers that have terrorized gaming comics for too long. Asmonbald has the right to cover gaming and have opinions. Asmonbald responded to the attempt to cancel him, stating in a YouTube video, "It's taking a long time to get to this point. We're getting them now. It's coming once a week now. It really is. It's... Oh, God. I just can't stand how this guy talks. It's being a lot now. Honestly, I'm going to be real, guys. I love it. Everybody's thinking about me, talking about me. They're all thinking about me. Oh, fuck off. Talking about me. What's Asmon doing? What's he saying? What did he say today? What did he say yesterday? Living rent free? I know I am. I absolutely am." Yeah, that was exhausting. Specifically responding to Easby Asmonbald question, well, if this person's in hell, where's the person that lives in Palestine or Ukraine? You know, I wonder, where does that rank on the scale? It's super hell? You're in hell? I don't think so, man. I think that you have a few people that are disagreeing with you on the internet, and that's not a really big deal, is it? I agree. After reading Kern's post, Asmonbald stated, "This is the issue that people have, is that they have no issue and no problem talking about their opinions on things, but whenever somebody else has an opinion that's different from theirs, now they're being harassed." This is true. "I'm sorry, guys, harassment is not the same as disagreement. If I'm disagreeing with you, you're not being harassed." In other news, water's wet. He continued. "And also, there's been a ton of people are talking about them getting harassed. There are people commenting every hour for me to kill myself. Oh, kill yourself. I hope you die. You're a piece of shit. Everything like that. No, you're just going bald. And I want to let you know that's not their fault. Look, there's mentally ill kids on the internet. They should be in a mental institution or something, but we got rid of those, so they're on Twitter." Again, a broken clock. "So it's not really their fault. These kids are saying the stuff is what happens. So how am I the harasser whenever I'm getting death threats? Probably more than they are. How does this make sense by this logic? By that logic, aren't they harassing me? No, you're a straight white man." It's like, you are incapable of being harassed. Bigot, check your privilege. Not seeing my head, Bob. The problem, I think, comes down to people moral mandate. They have a moral mandate to talk about their opinions on issues, expect everybody else to bow down to that opinion. And if other people disagree, even in a way that's respectful or non-aggressive, it's not enough for them, because everything that's a disagreement is aggressive to them, and any type of disagreement is violence. It is harassment, he explained. "And if you escalate the vocabulary, you create a world where response to that in a distorted way, right? Like trying to ruin somebody's life or disagreeing with you on Twitter. You make that reasonable because you're changing the vocabulary yet, and I think that's what happens. A little late to the party, but better late than never." All right, Asmonbald, bring it home. "So these people are very toxic. They're extremely toxic, and I think that every normal person on Twitter, there's like 7 of them." Okay, that's a good one. "Realizes that, and I think people are tired of being lectured on morality, tired of being told what to think by people who are, by all accounts, shitty. I don't want to be told what to do by a fucking asshole and a fucking dumbass. I don't want to be lectured on how much of a bad person I am by somebody who's worse than me." Much later in the video, Asmonbald commented on Musk's comments, which is what we just read before. But Sweet Baby Incorporated, in response to Kendra's cancellation attempt, Musk posted, "Sweet Baby Incorporated is an evil blight in the gaming industry. All they do is make games terrible and try to cancel people. Yeah, they cannot go broke soon enough." Asmonbald reacted by saying, "I think people will realize the ridiculousness of this kind of stuff sooner than later. The issue that people have, and this is what it is." And this is what that you have to understand, is that these people, attractions, motherfucker, want to completely destroy you as an individual so that nobody else thinks to question them or go against them at all. I gotta get in the mental headspace of talking like a stoner if I wanted to quote Asmonbald. I swear to God. He then said, "I want to promise you guys one thing. I'm not necessarily against every single thing that they even stand for, but I'm not going to ever, it doesn't matter how many times they complain to sponsors. It doesn't matter how many times they make tweets that are popular to say that I'm bald." You are. It will never stop me from doing this. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to stop talking about it. I'm not going to stop making videos about it. I'm not going to stop bringing awareness to this. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter anything. It's just going to keep on happening. And don't stop coming. Don't stop coming. And to the extent that they fight me on it, it will make it worse because I think that the more normal people outside of the video game sphere hear about this issue and that these people are more in position, they will seem extreme, he declares. So yeah, if they want to make it a bigger deal, go ahead. But I don't think they're going to like the outcome of that. I said it on day one. This is the Streisand effect writ large. And it's only snowballing from here. Oh god, I love Gamergate too. Just like the old days. Okay. Now, you saw this coming. I saw this coming. We all saw this coming. The American Society of Magical Niggers bombs at the office. Director Kobe Levy and actor Justice Smith, the American Society of Magical Niggers, from the Focus featured bomb at the box office on its debut weekend, only grossing, and I quote, pay attention, $1.25 million. Okay? Modern Hollywood blockbuster made $1 million on opening weekend. Somebody getting fired over this one. The numbers reports the film only grossed $1.25 million this past weekend after screened in 1,147 theaters. Its per theater gross was a meager $1,090. Okay? That is pathetic. Not only did the film perform exceptionally poorly at the box office, critics and moviegoers who saw the film panned it. What a shock. Color me surprised. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film has a rotten 30% rating from critics on the tomato meter. I don't trust anything from Rotten Tomatoes, but this here probably one of the rare times that reality actually bears out. It received an average rating of 5 out of 10 with 15 fresh reviews and 35 rotten reviews. The top critic score was even worse, with a 19% rotten rating. The average rating is 4.7 out of 10 with only 3 fresh reviews and 13 rotten reviews. I talk English. On the audience side, there's seemingly less than a total of 100 reviews. Wow, they could scrounge out that many people to actually make a Rotten Tomatoes entry on this. The current verified audience score sitting at 65% with an average rating of 3.5 out of 5, while the audience score currently sits at 28% with an average rating of 1.9 out of 5. Metacritic, the film has 52 Metascore from 18 critics. There are 5 positive reviews, 11 mixed reviews, and 2 negative reviews. Those two brave fools. Those two brave fools. Oh, they're going to get raked over social media for those ones. User score sits at 5.5. Oh, wait, 0.5. Yep. Thank you, picture. With the 0. 0.5. There are 2 positive reviews and 39 negative reviews. Woof. On IMDb, the film has a 2.7 out of 10 from users, with the majority, 74.8%, rating the film a 1 out of 10. But not brave enough to do 0? Actually, I don't think they can do 0, so yep. Checks out. Review and poor box office are not surprising. The film's trailer marketed itself as racist. The first trailer sees Justice Smith's character Aaron feeling discomfort at white people. We've seen this trailer before. Long story short, the movie's about literally magical niggers, and their job is to keep Whitey happy, because if Whitey's not happy, they'll turn on the black man, because Whitey, that's how Whitey roll, yo. And again, you know this was gonna bomb. I knew this was gonna bomb. But it's kind of nice to see the reality tracks on to what we predicted, and the movie, in fact, did bomb. Are they going to take a lesson from this? No. Are they still going to make crap? Yes. But the tide is turning, but it's going to be slow. It's going to be a slow but strong tide. And it shall be ground into fine dust and scatter upon the winds of time. Bitches. Okay. Yeah, since I just had a little geology joke, may as well just jump to this one. Okay. I've talked about the deep sea mining nodules thing before. Long story short, the international and national laws are still being written up on this here shit, but this here actually made me chuckle. United Nations deep sea mining body. Again, the United Nations, don't trust anything they say, but this is going to be funny. Body considering the possibility of expelling Greenpeace. Okay. So, you fucked up when the ultimate of cucks, that is United Nations, wants to kick you out. Metal company claims activists disrupted a research expedition when they boarded a vessel in the remote Pacific. So, long story short, is that the metals company was doing a preliminary expeditionary surveys, and Greenpeace commandeered the boat until the cops had to come in and kick them off. And because of this little well, Greenpeace, I'm just going to call them what they are, a little act of terrorism. Thanks to this little act of terrorism, Greenpeace is now on the books to get kicked out of the United Nations, consultatory board, as it were, and stuff, which I just find it utterly hilarious. It's like asshole versus asshole. United Nations versus Greenpeace. I don't care for either of them. And so when they're at each other's throats, I can only just sit back and just laugh. Feels good, man. Feels good. So that's that. Okay. Now our regular scheduled zero hedge lineup. United Health CEO meets White House officials after biggest cyber attack on U.S. healthcare system. Okay. So I've been saying for a while now that we're in World War III and people just don't want to talk about it. And this is one of the reasons why. In that there are so many fucking cyber attacks going on right now, like as of late, and it's not just like an art. It's normally I'll say like when something makes the rounds, it'll artificially inflate the numbers of things going on. Like people will ask me in terms of geology, in terms of like volcanoes or earthquakes or something. It's like, oh, is there more? It's like, no, it's just being reported more. You're just hearing about it more because it's going through the news cycle. Doesn't mean it's actually more. and and I normally try to stamp out chicken uh little panics like that where I can stuff. And I try to keep that in mind for when a news article makes the rounds and stuff. But this but this is not one of those cases, in that the number of cyber attacks, like hackers, internet, specifically government sponsored international, hacking cabals, as it were, and stuff, is in fact at an all time high. And this whole level of cyber destabilization and stuff, it is for a purpose. And which is getting back to my comment of World War III, in that everyone's at each other's throats right now, but no one really wants to pull the literal trigger in a physical hot war right now. So this is like the beginning grounds, like the start of like ramping up. It's an order of operations, if you will. There are certain things that have to happen first before the nukes fly, which is why I say that we are in World War III right now, and the nukes aren't going to fly until they do. But that's going to be like the last thing. Stuff. There's several steps you have to hit before you get to that point. And in destabilization, in terms of cybersecurity, finances, and stuff like that, you know that's just where we're at now. See a flow chart of like conflict is like major cyber attacks. You are here. So in this case, it was, let's see, United Health. United Health is in charge of a bunch of health insurances, and their network was compromised, and there was an inquiry on it. Of course, it affected their stock because, of course, it fucking did. So, in terms of like security and stuff, this is like a two pronged thing. One, you're destabilization via security, but you're also destabilizing versus economics because cyber attack reported, poof, stock takes a hit. It's like, okay, we're gonna pull an Ninja Sanji, woof, gone. So I'm going to try to focus more on these as they come on, because I always pay attention to these, but I don't really report on them, and I feel like I should, just to give people context of why I think the way I do for the state of the world and stuff. And it's shit like this. because it's always happening on, but it's getting really egregious right now. I mean, for fuck's sake, just look at the Strait of Hormuz right now with Houthi and stuff. Like everyone is doing what they're doing right now because, quite frankly, Biden's in power in the United States. Because the every enemy of America right now feels like they can do anything and get away with it, and because quite frankly they can't. So, which is why I say 2024 is going to be a wild year, especially as we lead into the elections. It's going to be fun. Okay. Now, to throw shade on my fucking cuck of a country. Excuse me. Yeah, drink. Okay. Oh, Lord. Okay. Toronto police give advice on auto theft. Just leave your keys out. Toronto police have given advice to residents worried about the city's spiraling auto theft problem. Just let the thieves steal your car by leaving them the keys. No, I'm not making this up. Authorities are literally telling people to stop criminals attacking them inside their homes. They should just leave the key fob for the car in the front at the front door. Toronto Police Service Constable Marco Riccardi. Fucking black Italian. To prevent the possibility of being attacked in your home, leave your key fobs at your front door because they're breaking into your home to steal your car. They don't want anything else. And believe it or not, some people are actually taking the advice. Spoken or not, though, some Torontonians have evidently taken the advice to heart. Like one person who, after having their vehicle broken into 3 times, opted to leave their car unlocked along with a big handwritten note indicating this so that the would-be thieves don't break the window again. Respondents next express their anger at the idiocy. This is what an unarmed society looks like, remarked one. Where guns are illegal, except criminals have them, and you don't. Come to the lawyer Viva Frey. Viva la Pinata. And the police are imploring you to leave your keys at the front door so armed criminals can steal your cars and hopefully spare your life. It's been a while since I said it, but fuck you, Justin Trudeau. Now I need to fix that because I clearly made an error. Fuck you, Castro Jr. One car is stolen in Canada every 6 seconds. 3 guesses. First 2 don't count, or where most of those are at. Toronto has experienced such massive epidemic car thefts that people are having to go extraordinary lengths to try to combat, given the police seem completely disinterested. One Toronto resident, Dennis Wilson, told Times that he has to set aside an extra 15 minutes in his commutes to account for his many security measures, which include, and I quote, 2 car alarms, a tracking device, 4 Apple AirTags, motion-sensitive floodlights, and a key fob kept in a hack-proof Faraday bag. Goddamn. Can my country just burn to the ground already? And can we just start from fresh? Start from scratch, please and thank you. Okay, I want to say I covered this before because it does ring a bell. I think. Okay, my memory's telling me that I read that they were thinking about this, and that was the last time I read about this was that they were thinking of doing it, and this is the article of them actually doing it now. If I had to hazard a guess. Californian activist group paying teens $1,400 in taxpayer money to undergo social justice training. An activist group in California is reportedly paying $1,400 each in taxpayer money to teenagers who undergo social justice training. According to the Free Press, the group Californians for Justice inked contracts with Long Beach Unified School District between 2019 and 2023 for this endeavor. These contracts, which outlet obtained, showed that the Long Beach used taxpayer funds to pay CFJ almost $2 million to facilitate equity and leadership development training for students and teachers. Aside from this, the contracts also allotted a total of $20,200 to 13 parents for their participation in the group's programs. Yeah, that from December 2019 till present, the Long Beach had paid at least 78 students a total of nearly $100,000 for participating in CFJ's programs. The programs are led by the group's staff instead of officials from the school district. The most recent contract runs until June. You get paid good, one student answered when he asked why others should join CFJ. While it's unclear which students are eligible for stipends, CFJ's website states that the Leadership Development Program operates with a focus on youth from low-income minority, alphabet soup, foster homes, and immigrant backgrounds. Just hitting all those checkboxes. But 4 teachers who talked to the Free Press consider the payments to students and the family horrible propaganda strategy. One teacher said she was shocked and horrified at such fact. Holy shit, a teacher. Well, okay, I shouldn't make fun of a teacher in California going against the Kool-Aid, because I read not too long ago that the teachers are actually rebelling against the union their union right now because of all this woke shit. So I said it before and I'll say it again: when normies rise up, oh boy, fun times. And that's pretty much it. Yada yada yada. More details. Yada 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 yada. Actually, I like this line. But a Jewish high school teacher who spoke on condition of anonymity expressed worry the concern is becoming reality. The teacher noted that the partnership between the activist group and the school district is solidifying misinformation in young kids. That's something that they're going to hold on to forever because they learned it at school, the teacher said. True. Early and often, not just for voting, also for kids. Eesh. Leave the kids alone. Okay, it's been a while since we talked about COVID. Problems after COVID-19 vaccination more prevalent among naturally immune. This is interesting. People who recover from COVID-19 and receive a COVID-19 shot were more likely to suffer adverse reactions, researchers in Europe are reporting. Participants in the study were more likely to experience an adverse reaction after vaccination, regardless of the type of shot, with one exception, the researchers found. Across all vaccine brands, people with prior COVID-19 were 2.6 times as likely after dose 1 to suffer an adverse reaction. According to the new study, such people are commonly known as having a type of protection known as natural immunity, which is what they said it wasn't wasn't important back in the day, if you remember correctly. People with previous COVID-19 were also 1.25 times as likely after dose 2 to experience an adverse reaction. The findings held true across all vaccine types following dose 1. And it's just giving down the breakdown numbers and stuff. The author's note in this manuscript: the focus was not on serious ADRs and adverse events of special interest, yet in the highlights section, they state the percentage of serious ADRs in the study are low for first and second vaccination and booster. So, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this at the end of the day. I don't know. It's also tiring. But okay, again, the whole the 2020 and its consequences shall be felt for generations. Mark my words. Okay, this one's pretty funny. 59% of investors concerned about greenwashing the financial industry. I've talked about this before, in that the gravy train is long since dead when it comes to ESG and all that nonsense. And investors are concerned that they got scammed, which they did. But every buzzword you can think of from the ESG days are verboten now, and it's fucking hilarious. Most investors were supposedly in sustainable ISAs unknowingly support banks funding fossil fuels. Many believe sustainable funds cannot include fossil fuel companies, highlighting a lack of understanding. Young investors are more skeptical of greenwashing practices by financial institutions. The majority of investors that pick their ISA based on sustainability credentials actually have their cash and providers classified at worst for the environmental impact, new research revealed. Analysis from Toronto Bank UK found their investors were failing to understand sustainability implications of where they put their money. I've poked at this in the past, in that a lot okay, the whole ESG thing was a scam. Like it was a scam from day one, but it was a really badly thought out scam because a lot of these green quote unquote green baskets like investment vehicle baskets were like like a green like green box of commodities 1 2 3, and these boxes would have like fucking oil and gas and coal and shit like that, and be like, and if you're buying it based on the quote unquote being a green investment, then you have like like Shell and Chevron and shit like that in there. You'd be like, okay, are you just retarded or you're just not reading? Okay, because it's a fucking scam, and like they had to shore up some of these investments with actual things that make money. But of course, it's that dirty fossil fuel industry which makes the money. So it's just so fucking retarded. Research found the majority of people, 55%, who have stocks and shares in ISA, where a provider classified as worse sustainability, according to ethical consumer rankings, actually think their money is in a green ISA. Investors are also not fully informed about the extent what labels can be applied to ISAs, especially if they seem counterintuitive. I've always considered these here, like, again, as this here was a scam from the beginning. I knew it was a scam from the beginning, and I always made my favorite go to historically when it comes to ESG crap. For a point of comparison, is the stores, store food and stores saying that it's organic. Organic is a marketing term. It's not anything that's actually lawfully enforceable. Okay, they can like make a fairy fart dust on it and stuff and call it organic. They don't actually have to do anything because it's completely worthless. It's a worthless term. It's a worthless marketing term to sell you shit. So like organic food is just a marketing term to sell you shit, and greenwashing all these investment funds is just marketing speak to sell you something else. That's all it is. And it's kind of funny that a lot of these people don't know what the fuck they're doing, and I find that fucking hilarious. But a lot of them are realizing what they've done, and they're like, "Well, shit." So get out my little tiny violin for these ones. But it's so like at the end of the day, I just find this fucking hilarious because like, who could have foreseen this coming? Certainly not this guy. Eh. Yeah, the cops today. Okay. Boeing whistleblower. This guy got Epsteined and also McAfee'd. Boeing whistleblower. If anything happens to me, it's not suicide. The Boeing whistleblower was supposedly kill himself. Reportedly told a close family friend not to believe if it was announced that he committed suicide. 62-year-old John Burnett died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in Charleston County Coroner's Office. The coroner's office in South Carolina said earlier this week, Barnett had previously raised concern about the company's production issues, having worked for the company for 32 years before leaving in 2017. According to the attorneys, Barnett had exposed very serious safety problems with Boeing 787 Dreamliner and was retaliated against and the subject to a hostile work environment and was in the middle of a legal deposition against Boeing. He was in very good spirits and really looking forward to putting this phase of his life behind him and moving on. We didn't see any indication he would take his own life. No one can believe it, said the attorneys. Now it turns out Barnett was telling close friends not to believe it if he supposedly committed suicide. After family friend Jennifer asked Barnett if he was concerned for his safety, the former quality manager was emphatic. Aren't you scared? Asked Jennifer, and he said, "No, I ain't scared. But if anything happens to me, it's not a suicide." So this guy knows how it works, and got firsthand, got firsthand told how it works. I know that he did not commit suicide. There's no way. He loved life too much. He loved his family too much. He loved his brothers too much to put them through what they're going through right now. She added, according to the family friend, somebody presumably representing Boeing didn't like what he had to say and wanted to shut him up without coming back to anyone. That's why they made it look like suicide. Jennifer said, who last saw the whistleblower late February. Barnett's attorney said they're still preparing to go forward with the case in June. Good. Let his death not be in vain. Where was I? Ah, yes. Slap on the fanny. Fulton District Attorney told she can stay on Trump case if lover pulls out. Zero Edge. I love you. I love you so much. An Atlanta judge who donated to Fannie Willis when she was running for office ruled on Friday that the highly conflicted Fulton County District Attorney simply had to break up with her lover, Nathan Wade, who she hired to the tune of $600,000 to work on the Trump election interference case. If Willis dumps Wade in the case continue, according to Judge Scott McAfee at the Fulton Superior Court, who also had the option of removing Willis over the giant conflict of interest, which included lavish vacations with Wade that were effectively at the taxpayer's expense, according to McAfee. While he found the appearance of impropriety, no disqualification of a constitutional officer necessary when a less drastic and sufficiently remedial option is available, adding that the prosecution of the case cannot proceed until the state selects one of two options. Either district attorney may choose to step aside along with the whole of her office, or Wade can withdraw. McAfee also found that there was no actual conflict brought about due to the relationship, a finding that would have required him to disqualify Willis. So that's pretty much all it comes down to. It's like, like the ruling judge is like, okay, here's your options. Either you pull out or he pulls out. At this point, I don't care which. So it's still going. The telenova that is the Fannie Willis is still going. Still going. Okay, back to Canada, and a reminder that this country is cucked. Oh, Canada, Parliament moves to impose potential life imprisonment for speech crimes. I'm going to jail. Very shortly. We have previously discussed the unrelenting attacks by Canadian Prime Minister Castro Jr. and his allies in free speech. There have been a steady criminalization of speech, including even jokes and religious speech in Canada. Now, the Canadian Parliament is moving towards a new change that would allow the imposition of I feel that's wrong, but I'm going to read it anyway. Imposition of life imprisonment on those who post views deemed supportive of genocide, with the growing movement calling Israel's war in Gaza genocide. The potential scope of such law is readily apparent. That appears to be its very draw for anti-free speech advocates in the country. The Online Harms Act, or Bill C-63, increases the potential penalties from 5 years to life imprisonment. It also increases penalty for willful promotion of hatred, a dangerously ill-defined crime, from 2 years to 5 years. The proposed changes constitutes a doubling down on Canada's commitment to reducing free speech for citizens despite criticism from many civil liberties community. English motherfucker. There is also a chilling option for house arrest if the judge believes the defendant will commit an offense. Oh, heaven forbid, I called someone a nigger online. Again. Add another life sentence to that one there, Chief. In other words, if a judge thinks a citizen will be undeterred to try to speak freely again. Justice Minister Arif Virani employed the same hysteria to convince citizens to surrender their freedoms to the government. He expressed how terrified he was of the potential of free speech, stating that he's terrified of dangers that lurk on the internet for our children. Again, as all great evil dictators will do, they'll hide behind the children. Such stunning and brave actions. It is not likely to end there. Today, the rationale is genocide. However, once the new penalties are in place, the host of other groups will demand similar treatment for those with opposing views on their own causes. This law already increases the penalties for anything deemed hateful speech. The law comes after Canada blocked the Russian dissident from becoming a citizen because of her violation of the Russian anti-free speech laws. In a telling act, the government said the same conduct, i.e. free speech, could be a crime in Canada. Indeed, it may now be punished even more harshly. I want off of Mr. Bones' wild ride, please and thank you. Okay. This one's gonna bring my piss to a boil, so I'm gonna try to keep it brief and succinct. Affirmation at all costs when internet files reveal about transgender care. The battle over transgender care continues as a new report published by Environmental Progress highlights the potential dangers of gender-affirming medical care based on the internal files of the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. Be still. Be still, my heart. Reveal that its members know they are creating victims and not getting informed consent. So the long story short of all this here is that they know, like, these people who are butchering these kids and pumping them full of drugs and, cutting off healthy parts of their bodies and stuff, know what they're doing because they are creating a lifetime customer. Okay, and they're fucking up these kids for life. And short as that life may be, because I'm sure the 41% is more than 41% these days. And the long and short of it is this report shows that they know what they're doing, and they know what they're doing is fucking vile, evil shit, and that they are all going to hell in a handbasket for it. And all this is intentional, and they long since have given up on their Hippocratic oath, and they really don't care. All they care about is money by having repeat and return customers. And that's all it comes down to it. And these are sick, evil fucks, and I hope they burn. Speaking of gender madness, this is kind of follow up to some of the earlier articles I've read, but this is like it is an upturn. Riley Gaines and 15 other athletes sue the NCAA over transgender madness. In the latest attack on transgender madness in the women's sports, former University of Kentucky Wildcat swimmer Riley Gaines and 15 other female athletes have filed a suit against the NCAA alleging violations of the federal Title IX law from arising from its insertion of man to woman transgender athletes into women competitions. The NCAA's most basic job is to protect the fairness and safety of competition, but instead the NCAA continues to openly discriminate against women. Much of the complaint centers on what the women experienced in 2022 National Swimming Championships, and famously a man to woman transgender Penn Quaker Leah Thomas was not only allowed to compete against women, but it was also given use in the women's locker room, as described by this excerpt from the 156-page complaint. The first time most plaintiffs became aware Thomas' access to the women's locker room and restroom was one when Thomas walked in on them while they were fully naked or in a state of substantial undress, when they were unwittingly walked in on Thomas and observed Thomas undressing with male genitalia exposed, or three, when Thomas undressed in front of them. North Carolina State Wolfpack swimmer Kaylee Islands chose to change in a dimly lit storage and utility closet behind a set of bleachers rather than risk being caught naked by Thomas or having him stand around naked displaying his manhood. I was literally racing U.S. and Olympic gold medalists, and I was changing in the storage closet at this elite level meet. I just felt my privacy and safety were being violated in the locker room, Alons told the Free Press. Women's racing suits are so tight because they require 15 to 20 minutes to put on, note the complaint. While you're doing this, you're exposed, said Caitlin Wheeler, another Kentucky swimmer, to the Free Press. You can't stand there and hold a towel around you while putting the suit on at the same time. Thomas, who wasn't a noteworthy athlete when competing against fellow men, won the women's national championship in the 500-meter freestyle by a huge margin, beating three female Olympic medalists in the spectacle. I remember when this happened, and this here picture kind of illustrates why. It's like how that played out. Okay? You're biologically male competing against female. How the fuck you think things are going to turn out? So I'm glad that these chicks are suing the organization for pretty much making them second class citizens in their own fucking sport. So it's like, this is a real instance of you go girl. Ugh. Oh man, this here got my piss into a boil when I first read it. Okay. 10-year-old kids denied drinking water in class because of three Muslims observing Ramadan. This here pisses me off for all the reasons you immediately suspect, but it gets more retarded the more details you read about it. 24 children were told they could not drink water at school in Germany because three other students in the class were Muslims observing Ramadan, according to the report. The 10-year-old kids in Frankfurt were all denied drinking water due to tiny minority fasting for the Islamic holy month. German outlet Neos notes that the fifth graders informed the parents after two teachers at the school made the decision. One parent commented at dinner, "We always talk about how the day was. I asked my daughter what was new at school. She said, she then told us that two teachers had forbidden the students from drinking in class because three of the 27 children were fasting. The teacher were reported to have prevented students from accessing water dispenser in the hall or having water bottles on their desk." But it gets weirder. This here is where it gets really fucking infuriating. The father of one of the students noted, "We found this announcement strange. The children in fifth grade are between 10 and 11 years old. Even for religious Muslims, the fasting requirement only applies from the age of 14." Okay? So this was over literally nothing other than virtue signaling. Ah. The fact that 24 children have to take 3 children into consideration when it comes to basic physical needs, that's a strange intervention, he added. The school has refused to comment on the claims, according to the report. As Remix News notes, the incident occurred at the same German city, the only one where Ramadan lights were installed last month. Oh, Frankfurt. From Nazis to cucks. Disc, disc. You overcorrected, son. You overcorrected. By decorating during Ramadan, the city of Frankfurt is sending this important signal to Muslims. He appreciates people Muslim faith in the city. Governing German Green Party, of course, the Green Party wrote in their appreciation to the city council last year. They are lights of togetherness against reservations, against discrimination, against anti-Muslim racism, and also against anti-Semitism. These are mutually exclusive, motherfucker. Pick one or the other. It's either you can't go never forget and also welcome people who will murder me to the Jews. Okay? You can't have it both ways. And also, leave the kids alone. Fuck. Okay, this here is a white pill one. New York subway rider who shot assailant with his own gun won't face charges. So, for those who don't know, Nigger was threatening people, and he got an altercation with someone, and the guy wrestled a gun away from him and shot him. And it looks like he's not being charged. This is fucking New York. Reminder, this is goddamn New York. Okay? This is New York, who actually had to request a National Guard come in to clean up the subways of this literal shit. And looks like we're swinging the other way of being tough on crime in that, totally in self-defense. You fear for your life, and guy's getting off. So, hey. Stranger shit has happened. Thumbs up, though. Okay, this is funny. Don Lemon attempted to shake down Elon Musk for Cybertruck before getting fired. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, Don Lemon is this propagandist from CNN who lost his primetime slot, got fired from his morning slot after he got Me Too'd, and looked like he was going to have a Twitter deal, much like what Tucker Carlson has. But when he sat down for the interview with Musk, he felt a little more self-important than he actually was, and Musk wasn't having any of it and stuff. And he said effectively, "Thanks, but no thanks," and canceled the deal. So yeah, so pretty much what Don Lemon wanted, he wanted a list of a bunch of shit and stuff, and Musk was just like, "Nah, you're just gonna bring in propaganda and piss off people, and you want all you're pretty much spitting in my face for me giving you a chance to come to the platform." It's like, you can post your links on here, but as far as having a business arrangement with the company, take a hike. And you know what? Good. Couldn't happen to a nicer person. Oh god. Okay. I'm kind of bouncing around with the whether or not to report the goings on in Haiti, but some things need to be reported on. A Haitian migrant boat with guns, drugs, and night vision intercepted off Florida as Caribbean crisis spreads. So there's this concept called contagion spread when it comes to political tomfuckery. in general and stuff. If there's something going on somewhere, you need to clamp down on the shit or else it'll spread. And it looks like that's happening with Haiti, specifically. With shit going down, they're trying. It looks like criminals are using it as an excuse for like the good times, as it were, to spread the joy again, as it were. But thankfully, this one got caught. But you're kind of wondering what about the other ones that didn't get caught? And since it's an ongoing issue and stuff, so I imagine the southern states are probably anything on the Gulf Coast right now should probably be paying a little more attention, not just to Mexicans and Chinese trying to cross the borders, also these guys. Some of them are cannibals. Speaking of which, related. Pentagon commander reveals alarming number of drone incursions at the U.S.-Mexico border. It's not overly surprising. A large number of drones incursions are happening in the U.S.-Mexico border, a U.S. Department of Defense official said on March 14. It's my understanding there have been a lot of drone incursions along the southern border. How many drone incursions have we had, and what are they doing? Senator Ted Budd asked the Air Force General Gregory Glut during a Senate hearing. I don't know the actual number. I don't think anyone does, but it's in the thousands. Again, this is in the thousands, okay? The southern and northern border, because I do have a northern border story somewhere. Yeah, I do. So, like, the U.S. border, doesn't matter where you come from right now, is goddamn Swiss cheese. And it's not terribly surprising to see this here shit happening. So, much like the Haitian cannibals coming coming on boats, it's like, who knows what those drones are? Is it just observation? Are they dropping drugs? Are they dropping guns? Who fucking knows? Certainly not the government. Okay, this one tickles my fancy. So I've reported on the collapse, the bubble bursting for the EV market and stuff, and one of the poster trials for this here is Hertz, because Hertz made a big okay. Uh, at the start of all this here nonsense, Hertz made a big virtue signal about we are replacing all of our fleet of cars with electric vehicles because we're good boys and we're green and blah blah blah. But then the ESG bubble burst and everyone lost their pants over this. And now Hertz CEO finds out as firm seeks traction after big EV bet goes bust. CEO Stephen Scherr's barely 2-year ride with Hertz came to a screeching halt on Friday. In his wake, he leaves a company still working to recover from a big bet on electric vehicles gone bad. It will do so under new CEO Jill West, whose previous posts include executive roles at Delta Airlines and cruise unit of General Motors. Scher also came on board February 2022 after 30 years at Goldman Sachs, ushered the company through its emergence from bankruptcy. Her EV push began previous year with a splashy move to order 100,000 Tesla Model 3 vehicles after taking the reins from Estero. Florida headquartered company Scher doubled down on the green vision, committed to purchase another 65,000 EVs from Polestar, a Swedish company, which I've covered before. In December 2023, Hertz emphatically demonstrated its massive EV push wasn't working out, throwing 20,000 EVs into the used car market, thus flooding the market of a. Again, okay. I need to put this into economic context, okay? If you flood a market with whatever, you're going to devalue whatever's in the market because you're flooding the market with goods and you're selling them at a loss, and thus everything else is getting devalued. So you crash the market, and that's what happened. And it's just so fucking funny because it was occurring roughly at the same time that people were also unloading their own inventories and stuff. So like you have to think about it this way: everyone was unloading their electric vehicles that no one wanted at the same time. It was fucking hilarious. I have never seen such a glorious crash, and it was amazing. Resale fleet cars, key driver rental companies' profitability on the front. Tesla threw a wrench in Hertz financial by aggressively slashing prices. Yeah, this was also happening at the same time that Musk was marking down everything too. So it was just like a perfect storm of retardation. Yep. So I found this funny. I wasn't terribly surprised. It was only a matter of time before the Hertz CEO got the boot for this here bungling. And I have a feeling this is not the last we're going to hear of it. Coming back to the criminality pendulum swinging. Tide shift. Philadelphia officer says criminals will be prosecuted once again. The tide is turning in lawlessness in lawless progressive cities after leftist radicals in city halls have pushed disastrous social justice reforms and defunded police to have sparked crime wave after crime wave. According to one Philadelphia Police Department officer, the mayor, the commissioner, and the governor are no longer tolerating the soaring thefts and out of control crime that have transformed some parts of the metro area into third world like conditions. If we had to guess, maybe the shift in policing is because progressive policies have been one of the biggest failed social experiments this nation has ever seen. I beg to differ, but it's up there. That would have to be prohibition. Law-abiding Americans across cities demand a return to law and order after half a decade of crime chaos, and these leftist politicians again the message that some are up for re-election. Yeah, funny how what happens when it affects their bottom line. Fancy that. So I don't know. Too little, too late, but you know it was all bullshit from the beginning. And I feel bad for the for people's houses getting broken into and businesses broken into and failing and stuff. Feels bad, but yeah, that's con world for you. Okay, I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating. Visualizing the explosive growth of AI powered fraud. So I went over an article a few weeks ago of how I don't trust. Okay, there are many reasons why I don't trust polls, and I don't trust like studies and shit like that there, especially nowadays, and especially now specifically, because you can have AI fraud. Like you can have machine learning algorithms do these surveys because no one does phone surveys anymore. Door to door surveys are non-existent and stuff. All surveys are done online right now, and because of the again, I subscribe to a milder theory of the dead internet theory, in that a lot of the internet is run by bots nowadays and stuff, and that also goes for these surveys and stuff. So the fact that these surveys are being done by bots, which means it comes back to my favorite discussion point when it comes to statistics, is garbage in and garbage out. And some of these numbers are crazy. Canada only sending a 477, but you guys get like 3K. Belgium's got 3K. Japan, you got around 3K. Vietnam around 3K. Philippines around 5K. It's like countries in the region where the biggest increase in deepfakes, specific fraud cases from 2022 to 2023 in percentage. It's just, this shit's only going to ramp up and it's not going to get any better. But it's still worth repeating because this is the world we live in now. In there. Harvard Medical School professor was fired over not getting COVID vaccine. This wasn't back in the day, this was recently. Harvard Medical School professor who refused to get a COVID-19 vaccine has been terminated, according to documents reviewed by the Epoch Times. Maren Kuldorf, Maren, an epidemiologist. Yep, I'm getting towards the end there. Epidemiologist was fired by Mass General Birmingham in November 2021 over non-compliant. Okay, yeah, so it was 2021. With the hospital's COVID-19 vaccine mandate after a request for exemption mandate be denied, according to one document, Mr. Kuldorf was also placed on leave by Harvard Medical School because of his appointment as a professor of medicine. There it depends upon holding a position at the hospital, another document stated. Mr. Kuldorf asked HMS late 2023 how he could return to his position, and he was told he was being fired. Okay, so that's how the timeline flows in this. Gotcha. You would need to hold an eligible appointment with Harvard affiliated institution for your HMS academic appointment to continue. Dr. Grace Huang, the Dean of Faculty Affairs, told the epidemiologist and biostatistician. She said that the lack of appointment combined with the college rules that cap leave of absence of 2 years meant he was being terminated. Ms. Goldorf disclosed the firing for the first time this month. Blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. So this shit, as I said previously, this shit's going to last for generations. The fallout of 2020 is going to ring out for generations, and it's fucking infuriating. But I am going to point it out as I see this come across my newsfeed, because never forgive and never forget. They want you dead, and they think it's funny. Okay, come back to the telenova that is Fanny. State of Fanny, Georgia Governor Brian Kemp signs law to discipline rogue persecutors amid DA Willis controversy. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has signed a bill into law that revives an oversight panel with the powers to discipline and remove wayward county prosecutors, and which could potentially target alleged misconduct by Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis in her case against former President Donald Trump. Mr. Camp signed SB 332 into law on March 13th, saying the signing ceremony that the community suffers and property is put at risk when out of touch public prosecutors put politics ahead of public safety. This legislation will help us ensure rogue or incompetent, repeating themselves, are held accountable if they refuse to uphold the law, Mr. Kemp said. As we all know too well, crime has been on the rise across the country, and it's especially prevalent in cities where prosecutors are giving criminals a free pass or failing to put them behind bars due to lack of professional conduct, he added. Ooh, shots fired. Ms. Kemp initially signed a related legislation in May 2023, which established Prosecuting Attorney Qualifications Commission, with the governor saying at the time the panel would discipline far left prosecutors who make communities less safe by being soft on crime. However, the panel was unable to start operating after the state Supreme Court in November 2023 declined to approve rules for its governance, with the justices saying that a ruling they had grave doubts whether adopting standards and rules was written within their constitutional powers. So, Georgia General Assembly passed HB 881 in January 2024, which revived the oversight panel, which removing requirement for Supreme Court approval. The bill was then referred to the state Senate, where it became SB 332. And it's going on to say how this will probably target Miss Willis and Mr. Wade, because why wouldn't it? Clearly, they're not working in their capacity, so I would be all for a law that would have them have some level of oversight and maybe even consequence. So, fingers crossed on that one. Okay, back to Clown World pissing me off. Planet Fitness cancels membership of woman who exposes biological male using women's locker room. So, long story short, in Alaska, a little old lady was Planet Fitness getting changed when a man came into the change room, and of course, Granny was like, "You're a man." It's like, I identify as a woman, and another instance of Granny having to deal with Clown World, and I feel bad. But unfortunately, in this instance, Planet Fitness took the side of the tranny and kicked out Granny for reporting on it, because Planet Fitness is not about putting people down, apparently, or keeping men out of women's locker rooms. So they kicked out Granny, and now it's kind of like that. It's kind of like that MS charity. They kicked out Granny for not having pronouns, and this one here is just like Granny not dealing with the modern day clown world and stuff. It's just like, leave the kids and old folks alone, because goddamn, feels bad, man. Feels bad. Okay, almost there. We're sick of it. Northern border crisis gets worse. Yeah, I mentioned this earlier. At dawn or dusk, Christy Brow used to enjoy alone time walking the woods on her 21-acre property in Highgate, Vermont, a small rural town near the U.S.-Canadian border. Lately, however, she's cautious. She's worried about potential encounters with illegal immigrants along the remote logging trail, and she goes about how her life is upside down because of all the illegals coming onto her property, and other people are chiming in on this. It's like, yeah, people are like activating trail cams and coming to our doors and shit like that. And again, I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's not just the southern border that's Swiss cheese, it's also a northern border. And of course, a lot of these people are coming into the country with ill intent. Like one guy here was in possession of drugs, ammunition, and multiple weapons. It's like you don't know who's going to end up on your front door, and fuck, shit's fucked, yo. So, yeah, again, the shit's going on, and I'll point it out. Okay, get in there. Last two. Last two, and we're done. My favorite topic. Don't get me wrong, this is legitimately my favorite topic. Putin warns of full-scale World War III if West sends troops to Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin's election victory. Air quotes on that one. Speech and Q&A with the press. Again, air quotes on that one. Was full of familiar themes, but he used the occasion to capture a record 87% of the vote. I'll believe that. I'll believe that in a cold day now. To warn the U.S. and Europe that the full-scale World War III is possible should any Western troops enter Ukraine. Spoiler alert, they're already there. The remarks came in response to a journalist question of President Macron's recent statement saying he's thinking of sending troops to Ukraine should be a realistic possibility. Putin responded on Sunday, I think anything's possible in today's world, and it's clear to everyone that this would be one step from a full-scale World War III. But the Russian leader also emphasized NATO military personnel are already in Ukraine, with Russian intelligence having observed English and French at times being spoken in the battlefield. There is nothing good this first for all for them because they're dying there and in large numbers, he said. Putin says it seems that France could play a role, all not lost yet. Over the weekend, French President Macron floated the idea of Ukraine's ceasefire during the Paris Olympics, which set to take place July 26th to August 11th this year. Good luck with that. Putin appeared to respond to this overture, saying in his Sunday address, I've been saying it all over again, and I'll say it again. We are for peace talks, but not because the enemy is running out of bullets. Putin stated, if they're really serious, they want to build peaceful and good neighborly relations between two states in the long term and not simply take a break for rearmament for 1.5 to 2 years. Kremlin followed up later with an exchange commenting on French president call for ceasefire for Russian foreign minister spokeswoman Maria Zakharova urged Macron to stop weapon supplies to Ukraine. The TASS news agency reported Zakharov also said Macron should have to propose the same ceasefire to the sides of the conflict in the Middle East. Putin elsewhere presented his re-election to another 6 years in terms of proof that the Russian populace stands behind him. In defending Russia in special military operation in Ukraine, dear friends, it's a great pleasure this evening to be with members of my team, people who think alike, who have the same goals. Well, let's think about this word, where it came from, comrade in arms, or teammates. He stressed the votes for all citizens. Russia expressed united the will of the Russian Federation. Oh, fuck off. No one cares. Okay, so I'm going to end on a more amusing one, kind of a culmination of a bunch of stories I've reported to over a while now. Exxon chief Darren Woods has conquered the woke ESG giant. Exxon CEO Darren Woods isn't mincing words or actions as the broader market has finally started to turn its back on the ESG fallacy. And we can expect more of the same when Woods speaks at the CERA Week by S&P Global Energy Conference in Houston this week. So far this year, Woods initiated the arbitration against Chevron Corp for trying to invest in Exxon's largest offshore oil project in Guyana and has sued investors pushing for emission deductions, according to Yahoo Bloomberg. Prior to that, he orchestrated a $60 billion acquisition, positioning Exxon as the top U.S. shale producer. Woods has also intensified his stance on climate objectives, asserting that speeches and interviews that fossil fuels remain essential to fulfill energy needs for a foreseeable future. He argues that achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050 is unrealistic. Yes, as there are general reluctance to bear the cost of cleaner alternatives. Jeff Will, senior analyst at Newberg Bergman, told Bloomberg it wasn't that long ago it all looked like taking the green approach was what the industry needed to attract capital, but he said that the Russian-Ukraine conflict flipped the switch and energy security became more important. Wow, who could have seen that one coming? Exxon benefited because they never stepped back from traditional business, unlike certain retards I could name. And, like, long story short, they never really bought into the ESG crap and stuff. And, the ESG bubble's going down the wayside and stuff. And those who kind of like stayed the course through all the madness and stuff are actually going to show amazing returns going forward because they didn't hamstring themselves. And also didn't open themselves to legal liability by not being fictitiously, responsible, legally speaking, to their shareholders through all this greenwashing nonsense. So, It's nice to see. Ending on a white pill. Okay. So, eh, ran through that pretty quick in an hour and a half. Thumbs up. I'm going to go cough up a lung and drink some more water. Thanks for coming. Take it easy. Later.